Hello, this is Aoife Deane and this is the Happy Weight podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I was just thinking, it's really weird being a dietitian sometimes, right? Because my idea of dietitians is that they're really like perfect and, rigid and controlled with their food. And then I have to remind myself, sure, that's not healthy, that's an eating disorder. But like the reason I'm saying this is I was on a load of flights and stuff yesterday. I was coming back from Madrid. And I was going from Madrid to Bristol to Cork, and the Madrid-Bristol flight got cancelled. And then I had to get other flights instead. I had to go Madrid, Amsterdam to Cork. So it was a whole day in an airport. And so I feel like my body is 80% gluten and wheat. Like I kind of can't even count how many sandwiches and ham and cheese croissants I had. But that was my entire day's intake, was like either croissant or sandwich. Also because they're lovely in the airport. They are lovely. But again, and I don't have any guilt about that or anything, but it also reminds me of, it's happened at least twice that I've been on video calls with clients and there's been like Nutella around my mouth. And like I said, this is stuff that I imagine perfect dietitians wouldn't do. But then I have to remind myself, all I care about for myself and all I care about for my clients is that they don't have any issues with food and they're a weight that they want to be and they can get on with their life. So it's not like, I'm not aiming for a gravestone or headstone over my grave that says she didn't eat processed foods for 40 years. I don't give a shit. And it's like my diet, for me, one of my top values is being able to be normal with my friends and my family and at weddings and christenings and communions and parties and holidays and days out and catch-ups and breakups and restaurant meals. And food makes life. And that is such an important part of our health as well. And sure, obviously we lose all of this once we get into disordered eating. Once we get into disordered eating, we start joining this diet world where manipulation of food is normal, judgment of food is normal, setting rules around food, dividing foods as good as or bad. And all of it is just so damaging to our mental health, our emotional health, and of course, our body. So yeah, it was all lovely food yesterday, but equally this morning there downstairs in the office, I was very happy to have my eggs and rice cakes, and I had cottage cheese as well, because it's like, if you have a very fluffy, carby, very little else than carbs kind of day, then I just kind of wanted some plenty of solid protein. And also I've started I have a big bag of peanuts over the microwave downstairs, and I'm like, salted peanuts, there's a lot to be said for them. They're so yum. And they really have their place. And that's why I kind of think with food, never say never. And it's really sad in disordered eating when we judge foods as bad, because you're I know with clients, they'll stop having cauliflower rice and they'll start having normal rice, or they'll have stuff like lasagna or normal dinners. And we just be having chats then lot to be said for normal rice, isn't there? As in, normal food really has its place for making you feel good. And that's why the manipulation and the judgment of, saying, oh, that's bad, I can't have that, it never works. But equally, I was thinking with those peanuts, I worked in another place before I started my business, and we always had almonds and Brazil nuts out for our clients. And sure, I was wolfing through them. And I was kind of thinking now, my approach to those peanuts is so different from my approach to those almonds and Brazil nuts, because back then I might have been doing low carb diets a lot. So I would have been like, oh, these are allowed, these are fine, so I can fill my boots with these. Whereas now, because I love food so much, and I know that my belly, my body only has potential for maybe max, every day is different obviously, but 3 high points of delicious taste and a lovely feeling in my belly. So those little nuts can be good for keeping the wolf from the door if I'm back-to-back clients or whatever. But ultimately, there's not a hope I'm letting peanuts take my entire belly space, so that when I finish with my clients, I don't have room in my belly for some delicious lunch or delicious dinner. And the other thing is with nuts, it's like if you were to fill your belly with them, it's just one feeling over and over again versus, and I know there's a time and place for that too. But sometimes say like in a meal, like, I don't know, you've a bit of like carbs, you've a bit of sauce, you've a bit of flavor, you've a bit of this, a bit of that, and all of that can come together to put a nicer feeling in your belly than just the one food, like all like, from belly hungry to belly full and just the one food. Like that's not always the nicest feeling. So it's actually gone from I can eat as much of these as I want because they're low carb and they're a good food. That's why the whole good food approach really doesn't help weight loss for most people, because we're like, oh, well, it's good, so I eat it. And it's like, well, what about, did your body ask for it? Does it taste nice? Are you enjoying it while you eat it? How did you feel afterwards? Because if any of those things weren't kind of right or good feeling, it's like, maybe your body didn't ask for it, and maybe that's why it's not promoting it, and that's why it wasn't like really tasty, or that's why your belly just feels like ugh or no better after it. So we have to click into all of those things. But and now, like I say, it's like I'm like, and I was thinking about this in Madrid because the food in Madrid was so good. And I've always been like, I love Barcelona. I love it so much. I used to work for a Spanish company before, and they were flying us out to Barcelona all the time. And I really, really love it. And I moved my business all online for a month there a few years ago and just lived in Barcelona. So it was always my fave. But now after this weekend, I'm like, I think Madrid is my new fave. But like I was thinking over there with the food, right? Because it's a huge city, obviously, with every possible type of restaurant, not to mind all the amazing Spanish food. And I was like, it's kind of almost, and I remember thinking this as well when I figured out all my own eating and weight issues, is that actually like life is too short and our belly space is too small. Because like I said, you only get a few shots per day, like maybe 3 windows where you go from belly empty to belly full. So it's like, you better use that window wisely, like, because you want to be coming out of that window full, like with such a pleasant feeling and experience and taste. And like, I was in this like giant city with thousands of restaurants, and I was only there for 4 days. So you're like, not that I worked it out at the time or anything, but that's technically like 3 windows. That's what it turned out to be with me and my sis. We went out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like, you've just 3 windows. So for 3 days, that's just 9 windows where you get a shot at lovely tasting food and a nice feeling in your belly. And I think what's really helpful about looking at food that way, in an enjoyable way, is that like you have no time for crap stuff. Like you have no time for stuff that is totally someone else's thing and not your thing. Like you just don't have the time, you don't have the belly space. And then also if we're offloading weight, it's like, there's not a hope I'm housing that food that is like, I can think of 10 things I'd rather be eating than that. So it's kind of a case from a weight point of view, but also a life point of view. It's like I said, it's like life is too short for all the beautiful food that we have, to try and to experience and create beautiful feelings with. And we only have like 3-ish windows a day. So, but it's also a very fun way to look at food, because it doesn't actually take that long to ask yourself, and when your mind wanders or whatever, it's like, what would be the nicest possible lunch? Or what have I not had in ages? And like, it's funny, as a comfort eater, you really have to start seeing things a different way. Because I've seen in people's food diaries and stuff, like, obviously in dieting, say something like a sausage roll would be so bad or whatever. But like, it's kind of different for comfort eaters, because, for a comfort eater, like one well-timed sausage roll, and there might be nothing in their food diary then for like 6 hours. Because that was such a joy. Like their belly feels so nice after it, and it was so like tasty, and they're in a place where they're not deprived. They know there's another bus coming soon. They know there's another opportunity for food around the corner, and that the game will start over again of what would be lovely. So, and that doesn't take away from the fact of being healthy and not having high levels of saturated fat or anything, because that's the whole thing. When you're listening to your body and you're not judging, you're like, you start realizing basically when it's a moment for a beautiful sausage roll and that would taste lovely and feel lovely, but at the exact same time, like this is the whole thing, getting good at reading your body is getting good at reading your body. And like there's trust or control. So control would be like, I want the sausage roll, but I'm not allowing myself have it. And the dark side to that, the shadow side of that would be then there might be a day that it's like 4 p.m. on a Saturday and you had a binge last night and the day has started all wrong. And part of you needs a break, or it needs like salad or fruit or something light, and your brain is like, no, power on with your bad day, power on with your bad day. So control comes with control, and then trust comes with trust. So like when we trust ourselves that I think this is the perfect moment for a delicious sausage roll, the other side to that is that then you'll be like, I really would love melon now, or mango would be gorgeous, or there's those, I think there's these times, because we live in heating or aircon, or even in the car, like very dried out spaces, and our food contains a lot less water than say our grandparents would have eaten as well. So sometimes you just need a hydration top up. So like say having like some mixed fruit and a pint of water or something like that, like that is a delicious, lovely feeling as well. Like, again, there's a time and a place for that like the feeling that say a little fruit salad and a pint of water could give you in your body, in your belly, like chips could never do that. They could never create that feeling. So it's like one doesn't have to be wrong or right. It's like, it's kind of like if you like the Beatles or you like Adele, it's like you can love them both. There can be, or like you can like Pitbull or Avicii or whoever. And it's like, yeah, there's a time for Pitbull and there's a time for Adele and there's a time for the Beatles, and one doesn't like negate the other. You know what I mean? And so food is exactly the same, so, and like with food, it would be rare that we'd just stay in one phase forever. Or like music, I kind of feel as well. It's like if I come across a song I like, I just mainline it again and again and again and again. But equally, that will probably last 2 or 3 days, So it's the same with food. You can have a little season where you're like, oh my God, does everyone know how delicious these are? But that season will always move on to another one. And that's another big opportunity for trust, because what a disordered eater would want to do there is like, no, you've had enough of them now, put them away. You can't have any more of those. We really have to get it clear in our head that you're controlling and overriding a body or taste or belly signal is never the least calorie option in the long run. It's always going to create way more calories trying to intervene. So it's like, you never know what's going on with your body. Like as in, I suppose a common one I come across is women being low in iron. So they will be having like a steak and a black pudding and then something else and then something else. And then within a week, it's over. Like their body clearly restocked on stuff. Or I get that a lot in January actually with antioxidants and phytonutrients. Like I can't stop the juices in January. Like it happens me most Januaries, and I kind of think with all the grey weather and the processed fatty salty foods, the rich kind of things that we have around Christmas, we're not having a lot of like light, fibrous, water-based, hydrating, antioxidant, phytonutrient live foods. So by that point, I'm really craving them. So the things I wanted to cover today anyways is like the things that we cannot get away with if we're losing weight. And by the way, terms and conditions apply. Losing weight and being a dieter, I have to say this every time, is very different from becoming someone without a weight problem. Just like someone who's trying to stay off the dole or benefit system is very different for someone who wants to be a level up CEO or something. Like they're two very different day-to-day relationships with your career and your work. And so it's the same with our eating and weight. Like, and I always think of that saying, a Thomas Truard quote, that you don't, like that the law of flotation wasn't discovered by studying the sinking of things. It was the law of flotation was found by studying the things that float naturally and easily and asking how so. So that's what we want to do for ourselves and the people in our lives that don't seem to have weight problems. So it's kind of like, what are they up to? How do they approach food? Like, and you have to be very careful who you pick to study, because you don't want anyone who's like basically talks about like guilt or emotions around food, or is controlling, or in any way no crack. You don't want to be studying those people. You want to study the people who happen to be a healthy enough weight, and it really seems to be in the background of their life, and you see them ordering and eating normally. Like they're not, low carb or keto or this or that. You can see them having a range of food. So they're the people we want to study. And then also we want to study ourselves. We want to study ourselves on the days where our eating wasn't as much of a problem. We want to find out what was the common denominator in the days when our eating wasn't that much of a problem, or we felt more emotionally light about it. We want to mimic and grow those days. But like I said, what a lot of people get wrong is they approach all of this like, I'm a fat girl trying to be slim. And even that is such a gross feeling. Like my heart sunk there saying it, because part of me is like, don't make me go back there. Like it's such a horrible way to go through your day, to feel like you're a fat girl trying to be slim, or a fat person trying to be slim. Because, we can have temporary fatness, even if that temporary fatness is 40 years there. Like the thing is, we have such a negative view about our body, especially with disordered eating. It's kind of like, I can't trust my body. My body is out to make me fat. It's encouraging me to be fat. My body is the problem, whatever. And then the other way of looking at it is like, first of all, it's like your skin is not like, haha, I'll trick her into being cold, or your bladder isn't like, haha, I'll trick her into saying that I need to go to the loo, but I don't. Like, so the idea that your stomach or your tongue or your taste buds are tricking you, like, doesn't really make sense. And that's certainly kind of how I believed it. Like, I believed my body was trying to make me fat. And it's like, that doesn't even make sense. But yeah, the other way of looking at it is that your body assumes that you're storing some energy to use it up. Like, that's as simple or as complex as it gets. It's kind of like, when we've stored energy, it sits in a little waiting room for 48 hours called glycogen to see will you use it or not. And then after that, it moves towards fat. So that's kind of within 48, 72 plus hours. So first of all, yeah, you'll never wake up like an elephant or a skeleton. Fear tells us that everything happens quickly, whereas biology, like if you think about it, right, like, all our food is broken down to, say, like the simplest sugar. So like if you imagine a spoon of sugar, right, say being dissolved in water or something, like the simplest structure of sugar. So no matter what you eat, it's kind of broken down to glucose basically, and that's what our body runs on. But then if you can imagine like what the body might have to do to turn that glucose into the fat of a pork rind, which, or we're an animal, like our fat is quite similar to the fat of animals. But you're like, just like you can imagine a scab forming, or anything in your body is kind of slow moving. So equally, like table sugar turning into a pork rind, it's not going to be like that. Like as in, it's a slower process. But anyways, like I said, from an identity point of view, anyway, the reason I went on that tangent is that it's there to be let go of. Like, it's not an identity. It doesn't matter how long it's there. It's just kind of like if you had a car in your garage, and whether it's there for 6 hours or whether it's there for 6 days or 6 months, that petrol in the tank is as willing to be burnt as ever. And that is the exact same with our body. So don't let anything else cloud your judgment in that way, that, if you've struggled for a while, it's more like stuck to you or anything like that. I think behaviorally and identity wise, we can kind of make things chronic and create an identity out of it. But body wise, it's ready to go. So yeah, we don't want to think like a dieter or a fat person trying to get slim. We want to be, first of all, we're a masterpiece and a work in progress. So we can be beautiful and amazing, and we can be super lucky with our health and our weight. And like, you really have to think that like even in your darkest days with eating, you really have to realize you are someone else's goal. Your version of the worst possible eating, your version of the worst possible self-care is inspiring to so many people who struggle more than you or don't have the health or weight that you have. So you are entitled to feel proud of yourself. You're entitled to feel like a masterpiece. And actually having that attitude will help you grow way faster anyways. So that's where we're coming at with all of this. So, oh my God, how have I used so much time already? But I just wanted to run over two things that I can get away with now that I don't have eating and weight issues. And I would say the first one is, like, I was out with a friend there lately and we did order, like, we ordered, it's so easy to order too much food, isn't it? Because you're terrified you won't order enough. So then you overshoot the runway a little. So we had calamari and just my friend later then or the next day or whatever was saying, she felt a little bit guilty about that. And I was like, in my head, that's such a foreign concept to me now, even though I work in this every day. But I was kind of thinking, like, why can't I get away with guilt? And I was thinking about this very clearly and logically. And I kind of think actually, because we have to motivate ourselves. And if the story is strong enough, no matter how stuck the behavior is, we will stop overnight if we frame it a certain way that it is not cool. And for me, that guilt is actually convenient and insincere. Like, it is, because my thighs aren't being helped by guilt. My blood glucose levels aren't being helped. My muscles aren't being helped. So it's kind of like, say, if you had a sister-in-law or a sister or a friend, and she was really struggling with, I don't know, a new baby, or she was really struggling with things, and you're like, I'm just at home feeling so bad for you. I'm feeling so bad for you. Oh, geez. All I'm doing is sitting at home feeling guilty. It's like, fucking take an action. Take an action. Drop over some food. Mind one of the other children. Like, guilt is just a convenient way to do nothing. So it's kind of like, we have to keep putting our money where our mouth is. And it's like, if you want to help your body, help your body. And as emotional eaters, like, all gestures are positive, like painting your toenails or then just little things that will make your life run smoother, like get ready your clothes the night before for the morning, or, prep something that you'd like to run out the door with, or whatever, just any kind of kindness towards yourself or your body. Like, when you catch guilt, immediately translate it to an action, because talk is cheap. And there's either people who talk or people who do. And guilt is someone who talks and doesn't do. So if you want to help your body, and talk to your body. I know this sounds weird, but, I make food inanimate or whatever word that is. And same with my body. So, sometimes I can be like, sorry, belly, like that was a bit full on there now. Like, I really just shoved food at you and you didn't get a say in it. And, I knew I wasn't enjoying that thing and I ate it anyway. So I'm really sorry about that. And, I'll make it up to you. I'll ease up now and I'll give you a little break. And, you take all the time you need now to get through all that food. And then when you say hunger, I'll give you something else then. But I'll take a step back now, because I was very pushy and controlling and giving you all the stuff you didn't ask for. So now I'll give a break. So like I said, it's like, stay in the action period. Don't be in guilt. It's, it's convenient and insincere, like I said. The next one is weighing yourself. And I was thinking about this the other day because a client done it. And it's a super interesting behavior, because I don't think you realize what a benefit a weight problem is and what a comfort blanket a weight problem is until you're sincerely trying to get rid of it. Because I just don't, like, if I weigh myself today, right? And first of all, I'm, just back from holidays and on a flight, and there's always a million reasons why there could be other things upping your weight in the scales, because you are not just a fluctuating mass of fat. So, like, first of all, there's that like, it's never that accurate anyway in terms of what you want to read. But the second thing is that, like, what is the benefit actually to my eating or to my minding myself by introducing doubt and judgment? So if I jump on the scales and I introduce an opportunity for doubting myself, doubting my body, doubting my eating, how in any way does that lead to a more confident, trusting, helping, positive growth mindset approach to my eating and my body today? Because if anything, it's always going to muddy the waters. Like if you introduce doubt, well, then you introduce, like, doubt is obviously the opposite of trust. So it's kind of like, my belly is as happy as a clam now after my lovely breakfast and coffee and stuff. So I'm grand to like ride it out now until it's hungry again. There's no issues. But if I jumped on the scales, I'd be like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should be snacking every 3 hours to keep up my metabolism. So it's kind of like, I can't afford introducing doubt if I've had a history of eating and weight issues and I intend on not having them back. And that's the other big mistake, right? Everything with eating and weight is backwards. So you could be like, oh, you get to be like that because you don't want to lose weight or whatever, or you don't need to lose weight or whatever. But it's like, no. It's the other way around. It's because I don't entertain guilt and because I don't jump on the scales. That's why I no longer have weight issues or binge eat. So it is kind of like, like you have to be the person you want to become and you have to be the end product. And it's also like, if you build it, they will come, So if we're building a life where we are going through our day as someone who does not have a weight problem, so that obviously rules out the scales. It obviously rules out keeping clothes in your wardrobe that don't make you feel good. It rules out a lot of things basically, but like it's like, if it's also that whole thing that like, if it looks like it, sounds like it, talks like it, whatever, for long enough, it probably is it. And I love thinking about it as well, that it's like the universe is watching, or God is watching, or whoever you want to say is watching. And it's like, who are you being? And then you will get the fruits or the results or whatever that someone like that would deserve. So if we're going around the place as someone without a weight problem and we're picking our foods that way, we're minding ourselves, we're saying lovely things to our body, we're so grateful for our body, we say lovely things to it, we compliment it, we give it lovely clothes that it feels good in, we make sure that like we're drinking the right amount of water, getting the nice, like we're spoiling it, we're just being so caring and loving. It's like, if you heard that story, what kind of, like, even when you hear that story, what kind of a body do you think someone like that would have? And so that's why we're being that first. So I think I covered all my points. And if you haven't already, sign up to my newsletter, Happyweight at happyweight.ie. And I have 2 courses, the Happy Hypno Weight and the Love Food Program, if you want more of this vibe. And thank you so much for joining me, and have a really, really, really lovely week. Mwah.